Good afternoon, students. Welcome to
Good
our
afternoon, sir.
investment banking
Good
class.
afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Are there? Yeah. So, can someone tell me what we discussed previous class? What was the previous class discussion? Anyone who attended last class? Yeah. What was the previous class discussion? We were discussing CTS. What is CTS? Yeah. What is CTS? That is check truncation system. Okay, check truncation system. What do you mean by CTS scan? Earlier they had many of the checkbooks without CTS. Then I said no, they have changed it to CTS. Okay, uh, system one, which is more secure, which will help the company, the banks to do the transfer very fast, the check transfer. So how do they do that? They will scan your checks. They will not send any of the physical checks, whatever you are issuing, okay, to the clearing house. They will not send it. They will only send the checks, MIRC data and images of the check for the of the presented bank. Okay, this is what we have seen. Remember all this? Then September 2020 onwards, they have made it mandatory all over the India that only CTS will be used for clearing any check. Okay, olden days they used to do what? They used to send the physical check to the settlement, the clearing house. There they used to do the settlement of the money. But now that is a olden days system. Now they are doing using check truncation system where the money can be transferred very fast. Okay, that is why you can see now, even if you are okay, surrendering the checkbook, check of other banks, still you are going to get the money within 1 or 2 days only. Earlier it will take 3 days, 4 days, sometimes more than that. Yes or no? If you use checks earlier, you will come to know that, or you can ask your parents, they'll tell you that. Okay, and this is what we have seen the new check where the CTS 2010 is been printed. Okay, this is only is being used now. It was initially actually came into picture in 2013. They made mainly the all the metros and cities to use CTS enabled checkbooks. Okay. This is what we have seen in the previous class. Today we will discuss on electronic fund transfer. So electronic fund transfer is more preferred now. Many people prefer this particular method of transferring the money from from one bank to another bank, or from one account to another account, or from your account to other bank accounts of your account or somebody else. You want to send to your father or mother or anybody else who are holding the account of same bank or different bank. So majority of them are using electronic fund transfer. Okay, and this is one of the very simpler than the conventional method of transferring money. Conventionally, what they have to do, they have to go to bank and deposit, or they have to give check leaf, then they go and deposit. It will take 3 to 4 days or 5 days to encash. Okay, now, because of electronic fund transfer, the fund transfer is very, very simple now, and it is very comfortable. They can do it from their home or wherever they are. They can sit in their place and they can do it. Whether they are in the home or whether they are traveling anywhere, they can sit and do it. Only thing they need to have internet facility and mobile bank. Yes or no? How many of you are using electronic fund transfer? Can you raise your hands? How many of you are using electronic fund transfer? Either NEFT or IMPS or RBPS? Raise your hands. Rijo and Jisha. Then Abhijit Mandal, Madhumita, Sandesh. Okay. What about others? Nobody is using other than that? Don't worry, I'll not ask any question. Yeah? Okay. If you're not done, I'm sure within 6 months you will start doing. When you start getting your first salary, you will start with that. Don't worry. Okay. So yeah, you can lower your hands now. Yeah. Kindly lower your hands. Madhumita, Sandesh, Abhishek. Yeah. So you can transfer to your own bank account or another bank where your account is there, or you can send to other bank where your friend's account or your relatives account is there. Either you can use NEFT or RGTS, RTGS or IMPS. And how does it ETF works? Electronic fund transfer works. So first the sender, it starts from sender. Sender should have the electronic fund transfer facility. Okay, now nowadays all the banks will come with that. He has to give an instruction, transfer order to the bag wherever his account is there. That amount has to be either debited or credited. Okay, and then the amount will be debited from his account, and then the fund transfer message will go to the fund transfer network operator. He is nothing but which is been connected to the settlement bank, and they will send the message to the receiving bank, receiving institution, and they will send the payment advice, okay, to the person to whom the money has been sent. The beneficiary is the receiver or the beneficiary, and then that amount will be credited to his account, and he will get a SMS, okay, or an email immediately once the amount is been transferred. So now can you see it's so simple. It is so simple, the money will be transferred. Okay, you can transfer, account transfer you can do debit or you can do credit transfer, standing instructions, okay, automatic bill payments, electronic payment order, domestic fund transfer, international fund transfer, person to person payment or bill payments. All those things can be done using ETF. Okay, EFT, electronic fund transfer. In this, we have different systems. One is called NEFT, that is National Electronic Fund Transfer. It was launched in 2005. 2005, and the 1 minute. Yeah, 2005 it was launched, and the message transfer fund transfers are sent through structured financial messaging solution. It is called SMS. SFMS, structured financial messaging solutions through the Infinite to the National Clearing Cell, which is maintained by RBI. Infinite, I think we already discussed in the previous class. What is Infinite? Anybody? What is Infinite? Yeah. Infinite is a network where all the banks and the financial institutions are connected to each other. That is how they will communicate to each other, which is okay to the national clearing cell, which has been maintained by RBI. At the national clearing cell, the messages are sorted bank-wise and forwarded to the participating bank. The net credit or debit are passed on to the participating banks. Finally, banks on receiving the message and the funds would process the transaction on the beneficiary's account, either debit or credit. Then any NEFT works on deferred net settlement basis in batches. That means what? They will not send immediately the moment you transfer the money. It will take some time. Okay, they will have a batch. They'll create a particular timing during this batch. Whatever the time, this time the batch is money has been transferred, the entire batch amount will be transferred. Okay, so it happens batch wise. That is why NEFT will not happen on the same moment when you are doing transfer. It will take some time. And here IFSC code is very, very important. That is the Indian Financial System Code is required for transferring the money. And settlement mechanism, there are two settlement. One is gross settlement and net settlement. The gross settlement is the payments are processed individually in gross. That means the moment you do a transfer, immediately you are alone, only your transaction alone will be transferred immediately. They will not wait for a batch to complete the time. Okay, whereas net settlement, the payments are accumulated, processed as a batch at various cutoff times, and then the net amount between banks is settled through the RBI. That is the main difference between gross settlement and net settlement. Okay, so real time gross settlement, that is called RTGS. So this happens one-to-one basis rather than bunching or rather than the slot wise with transaction. The messages are sent through interbank funds transfer processor, that is called IFTP. IFTP, bank fund transfer processor. The amount will be sent individually one by one, not in a bunch or in a gross settlement, not in a block wise. The transactions are processed in, first out, FIFO basis in queue, and they will process continuously. It will be sent continuously and it will be processed in a queue. In a queue it will come, and every bank has a current account with the RBI. Apart from this, every participating bank opens a settlement account with the RBI as well as in the settlement account. They will have that, so that the total transfers, either debit and credit, will be settled together, and funds are moved from current account to settlement account in the beginning of the day. The leftover balance amount in the settlement account is swept back to the current account in the end of the day. Is it clear? This is how your RTGS payment takes place. So sending bank, the full payment message will be sent to the central processor, but nothing but it will be sent to the central bank, that is the settlement unit of RBI, and then once the request is sent, immediately the confirmation will come from settlement unit, and then the full payment will be sent to the receiving bank. Okay. So it has become so simple nowadays transferring the money. Earlier, they had to take leave and go and stand in a big queue in front of a bank to do a transfer. But nowadays, you can sit in your home and you can do it very quickly. Okay. So apart from NEFT and RTGS, we have one more. It is called IMPS. RTGS, then we have it called IMPS. That is immediate payment service. So this also offers nowadays NEFT also is made 24/7, but earlier only IMPS was there, which was 24/7. You can transfer anytime, any moment, any day. Okay, interbank electronic fund transfers were allowed to do services through mobile banking. Okay, immediate payment services through mobile banking. IMPS is an emphatic tool for transferring money instantly within banks across India through mobile, internet, and ATM, which is not only safe but also economical, both in financial and non-financial areas. Okay, this facility is again provided by NPCI, that is called National Payment Corporation of India, through NFS, that is National Financial Switch. Okay, and then the mobile number to be registered with the bank, they need to register mobile number, and for MMID, mobile money identifier, has to be generated before you send the money. So MMID has to be there. which has to be sent to them. So MMID, mobile money identifier to be generated, then only you can do the IMPS. So how IMPS works, you can see there, the sender either through the mobile or through your ATM, they will send the request, and then the request will go to bank, and then the bank will send the request to NPCI, and then information will be received by the bankers, and then they will inform to the receiving bank, money will be credited to the receiver's bank, and then SMS goes to the beneficiary that money has been credited. It's a real-time money transfer. That means the money will be transferred instantly. Anyone of you have tried IMPS? Did anyone try IMPS? Raise your hands.
No, sir.
Disha?
Not done, sir.
You're done?
No, sir. No, I'm not done it.
Okay, Abhishek has done. Rijo, I think because they both are into stock market, so they both are doing it. Whenever I think they get a very attractive stocks, okay, they are buying it. Okay, anybody else? Nobody? Okay, I know you will start working. You're using this once you start working. Once you start getting earnings, you'll start using all this. Okay, so IMPS is a very good one where you can use it for your transactions. Yeah, Abhishek, you lower your hands. Yeah. So now you can see the difference between NEFT, RTGS and IMPS. So what are the minimum transfer amount for NEFT is 1 lakh or rupee 1, then RTGS 2 lakhs, and IMPS is only rupee 1. And maximum you can see for NEFT there is no maximum, and for RTGS it is 10 lakhs only, and IMPS 2 lakhs. Okay, and timings nowadays it is NEFT is done now 24/7, and RTGS is about to be done. It's not yet done. They're planning now. It is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then IMPS is also 24/7, and charges nil from January 2020 till now they used to charge, and then RTGS also nil, and then IMPS 5 to 15 rupees they will deduct. Okay. For your money transfer, and volume of transactions in 1819 you can see there 2.32 billion, then RTGS is less 0.14 only, and IMPS 1.75. But you can see that the more volume was there in the NEFT, and even in terms of rupees also you can see the highest is RTGS, obviously because the minimum money itself is 2 lakhs. So anybody is using, they will be transferring minimum 2 lakhs. So that is why you can see there the volume is very high. That is 1,356.88 trillion trillion rupees, and NEFT is 227.94 and IMPS 15.90. So limit for retail transactions was there, no transaction limit for corporates. That is for RTGS. If corporate want to do RTGS, obviously corporate will be millions of rupees. They'll use billions of rupees, crores of rupees. So that is why for them it is no limit, maximum limit. 10 lakhs is only for retail investor, retail bank account holder only for transaction. Okay, this is what RBI source they got from RBI information. This information we got from RBI. Okay. And then what is standing instruction? Anybody knows? You might have not given this. That's why I'm not asking you whether you use it or not. Maybe you can ask your parents or your siblings who are working. They might have given this. Normally they'll give this for loan payment. If they have taken loan, they have to pay EMI every month, or every month they have to pay electricity bill or phone bill. Okay. Or any installment they have to pay for the any purchases they have done. Maybe they have purchased some mobile or any gadgets they taken on investment. So what they do, installment. So every installment they'll give a standing instruction to the bank that on so and so date, okay, this much money you have to debit, and then you have to transfer to so and so company or so and so account. Then what happens? Every month the bank will faithfully deduct the money and transfer to so and so person or so and so company on the same date, the same amount what you are giving, till you give the message to stop the standing instruction, stop the transfer. Okay. So standing order is an instrument an account holder gives to the bank to pay a fixed amount at regular intervals to another bank, another account, an instruction that stands until cancelled. Till you give a cancellation, they'll be keep debiting and transfer into so and so person, so and so account. It can even be set for transfer to other bank account by way of NEFT or RTGS. They are typically used to pay rent, mortgage, other fixed regular payments. It is also used for booking recurring deposits, and then bill payments like phone bill, internet bill, broadband bill, insurance policy premium. That is what normal people use because they forget many times. So that's why they're going to use standing instruction. When they give standing instruction, what happens is even if you forget, the bank will never forget. They'll pay your insurance premium on time. If you forget, what happens, your policy gets lapsed. Okay. To avoid the danger, what they do, they will go for insurance policy payments. And then standing instruction. And then gas bill can also be paid by giving standing instruction. Is it clear? Any doubt? Till now, any doubt? Are you listening? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any doubts till now? Next we have, it's called electronic clearing services. That is called ECS. Many times when people normally buy say mutual fund and all that, they will ask whether can I do ECS. That is electronic clearing service. It is a mode of electronic fund transfer from bank to another bank account using the services of National Automated Clearing House (NACH) of the National Clearing Cell. This is normally used for bulk transfer. ECS is done for bulk transfer whenever you want to send the bulk credit or bulk debit. That means you have to debit somebody's, you have to debit say 100 people's account together in one shot. Then you will go for ECS. Or 100 people account you have to credit together in one time. Or you have to credit 1,000 people's account on the same day. So what they do, they use ECS. Okay. Can you give some example? Can you think of an example where they can use ECS? Anybody? Can someone guess where ECS will be used? Can you quote us some examples?
So check, sir.
Check is not an electronic service. That's a physical only.
So the NFT IMPS for that, sir, clearing.
Okay.
Sir,
But
check, sir, by mistake I said this is for IMPS.
Bulk we cannot do. We can't do bulk in NEFT or RTGS.
Sir, it goes by, sir, lot. Like we send it, for example, we give order for 3 or 4 lakhs, but it goes in lots. In the system, it goes in lots.
That is, you're talking about net settlement. I already discussed, no, gross settlement, net settlement. That is NEFT and RTGS. See, NEFT is net settlement and RTGS is a gross settlement. But ECS is totally different from NEFT and RTGS. Yeah, I said no. ECS is there are two ways. One is ECS credit, ECS debit is there. We will discuss now what is credit when they'll use it. There is one to many. So you want to credit say 100 people together. For example, take a salary. A company has to pay salary on 31st of every month to say 1,000 employees. Can they use NEFT RTGS? Then they have to do one by one individually. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of work will be there. So what they do rather than that, they will give a ECS facility and they tell to bank, okay, on 31st of every month, you pay to this so-and-so account, this much of money. They'll give standing instruction using ECS facility. And on 31st of that month, the bank faithfully credits all 1,000 employees account on 31st of that month. Do you understood now? That is what ECS. So it makes many credit entries at a destination by posting a single debit at the sponsorer. So the sponsorer account will be just debited only once, but 1,000 accounts will be credited. So that is one too many. Okay. And generally they are raised by a employer to make payment to salary, corporate to pay dividends, or and financial institutions to pay dividends or interest. This is where they use. Understood? For salary payment, dividends, and interest they will be using. So who are the parties involved here? One is initiator, that is the corporate, will give ECS user, and beneficiary will be many individuals. Sponsor will be the bank of the corporate, and the destination bank will be the bank of the individual who receives the money. Or it can be an employee, or it can be a debenture holder or equity shareholder. Okay, and NACH will be used. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so mandate instruction will be given to the sponsoring bank. Okay, so you can see there customer will initiate mandate through corporate, and the corporate sends mandate to the sponsorer bank, and the sponsor bank backend digitalization of the physical mandate will be done. They will digitalize everything and they keep it ready. And then what they do, and the data and image files will be sent to NACH. And then they will generate the NACH system. And then what happened? They will send the file sent to the destination bank. So what happened? You can see they do the groundwork. Groundwork will done from the company and from the bank, sponsor bank, and they'll send to the NPCH, and then they'll be sending the file to the destination bank for verification and approval of the mandate. Once your mandate is done, you can start doing that. You can see there, then destination bank returns the files and to NACH, and mandate starts updating in NACH, and then returns files sent to sponsor bank, and mandate status updated with the bank, and then the updated corporate will be given the details that okay, so and so thing will be updated. Now your ECS is ready. Then what happened? They will start standing it every month. They will do that. Okay, that is what is ECS. Next one is ECS debit. ECS debit is many to one transaction. That means many people will be sending to one account. That is called ECS. It is making many debit entries at the destination and gives a single credit entry to the sponsorer. Okay. So generally raised by an individual to make payments of insurance premium, utility bills, credit card payments, and EMI loans. So here initiator is individual now, and beneficiary is corporate, and then the sponsor bank will be the banker of the corporate, destination bank will be the banker of the individual, and NACH will be used. Got it? So for example, somebody is paying, so there will be an insurance policy holder, there will be 1,000 policy holders who are paying the money to you. Money to say LSE or any other insurance companies. So what they do is, they will instruct to the bank, give me the ECS debit facility. That means what? All the payments the thousands or millions of policy holders are paying will be settled, will be collected together, and one amount will be sent to the, one debit will be done to the companies. That is what is ECS debit. Is it clear? ECS debit and credit. Here you can see it will start in the reverse order. Whatever we saw the credit, it will be reverse order here. A customer initiates a mandate through the destination bank. It is not the corporate here. Earlier it was corporate who was starting the initiation, but now the customer will take the initiation, okay, through the bank. Then again, same thing will happen. You can see the same process will take place. Bank will send the digitalization of the physical mandate, then verification will be done, then the data will be sent to the NPCI, NACH network, and then verification will be done, then to send to the sponsor bank, then sponsor will verify and approve, and then the update to the corporate details, and corporate update database and sends confirmation response to the sponsor bank, and then their mandate will be sent to NACH. Okay, this is all. Then the confirmation will be sent to the destination bank, and this bank will inform the customer. This is how this happens. This is ECS debit. That is many to one. ECS credit is one to many. Okay, so please remember these things. Okay, so you can see the flow chart of debit credit of even POS. What is POS? What is POS, students? You might have known this already. Now this you're already using it. Many people are using it. What is POS full form?
Point of sale.
Yeah, that is point of sale. Can someone give me example any point of sale where you use this?
So supermarket, sir, like Reliance Fresh.
Yeah, what happens there?
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, can you tell me your example what you have done in supermarket? How it happens?
So like every payment we make is like for each sale we're paying them.
Yeah. Yes. Say for example, you go to DMart and you purchase so many things, and then when you come to the billing counter, you say they'll ask you whether you want to pay through debit card, credit card, or you want to pay cash. Then you say I want to use debit card. Then what happens? They'll give you a machine, right? The machine where they'll be swiping your debit or credit card, and then they will receive the money. That is called point of sale. That means you're not using any cash, but you're giving your debit or credit card, and then you can do the payment without using your cash or you're using your any payment wallets. This was very famous before the wallet came, before the online wallet came. Till then, only this was very famous. Now we have the wallets where we're using the online wallets like Paytm, okay, Rupee card, Rupee, and all that thing. Okay, before that this was not there. So earlier this was very famous. Okay, where customer will use a merchant's point of sales machine where they'll do swiping the thing. So you can see there the customer will go to the merchant, and then they will use their debit card or credit card. They'll do the processes, and then third step they'll intimate to the association of Visa or Mastercard, or nowadays you have Rupee also. And Rupee, as you know, it's a Indian. Okay, and then the issuing bank will accept that, and they will inform to the customer, and the amount will be credited immediately to the merchant, and the customer account will be debited. This is what the flow of debit and credit card of point of sale. Okay, so MDR at the merchant discount rate. Okay, they'll be using. Okay, so we will stop here now. As I said earlier, we have in the presentations now. We will do this next class. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop now. Now I request the teams to come forward and tell me which
Sir,
team is.
we will do, sir. Jisha's team will do, sir, first.
All are there?
Yes, sir, everyone are there.
Jisha team. Okay, so tell me whom I have to make co-host.
Jisha, sir.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the screen, sir.
Yeah, Jisha,
Yes, sir.
I'm making you the co-host. Yeah, I've done the co-host.
So I'll be doing the introduction part. So our topic is growth and constraints in
Please
investment.
off your video.
Of the video, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
you're not well groomed. Yeah.
So introduction. Our topic is the growth and constraints of investment banking. So investment banking is nothing but it's a financial institution which assists individual, corporation, and governments to raise financial capital by underwriting. Underwriting is nothing but they cover the risk, like they give risk. They are the risk takers, or acting as a client agent in the issuance of securities or both. Investment banking is a field of banking that companies is acquiring funds. In addition to the acquisition of new funds, they also offer advices to a wide range of transactions that company might engage in. Next slide. Okay, these are the top 10 investment banking firms in India. So AMRO Bank, ABN AMRO Bank, Australian New Zealand Bank, Citibank, JP Morgan, HSBC, and some others. Next slide. So investment bank in India, it's just a growth. Like how, I mean, when I think SBI was the first Indian sector bank to set up its investment banking division in 1972. SBI caps and IDBI caps are two prime examples of investment banks in India today. Currently, there are almost 300 investment banks registered under the Security Exchange Board of India. Currently, with holding a certificate of registration granted by the Security Exchange Board of India, no person can act as investment banker. Next slide. So importance of investment banking is it expertise. It helps in growth of local, national, and global level economy as whole. And as a growing economy, all companies wants to raise the stock and shares. So investment banking as the expertise help, with the expertise help, they provide underwriting services so that business can maximize their revenue while staying with regulatory requirement. Next. So some roles of investment banking are like they serve as an intermediary between investor and corporation. It helps clients to meet the regulatory requirements. It provides advisory services. It also helps in pricing of securities, resulting in maximization of revenue. When company issues IPO, investment bank may buy all the shares from the company and will sell it in the market as a proxy company where they do the role of underwriting. So Karthik will explain this.
Okay. Trend shaping the future. Trend shaping the future of investment banking in India.
Something on your video, we cannot see you.
It's on, sir.
But I can't see. Sir, can you see your?
No, sir.
Nobody can see. Okay, continue.
Okay, sir. I am audible, sir.
Yeah.
Trend shaping the future of investment banking in India. Regulation. Investment bank is as it helps to the senior banks with the cultural advantage of the more.
Yeah, what happened? Karthik?
I think some
amounts.
network issues, sir.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
It's audible, sir. I am audible.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Next point, technology. Emerging the technology is one of the factors that will have impact on the shaping the future of investment banking in India. Digitalization, all big data, mobile technologies, and the virtual reality will force the change in the banking courses across all the financial sectors. Infrastructure, a wave of the new infrastructure schemes and the programs has got the there is a particular political interest to the invest in the infrastructure projects. Even the investors are convenient to easily to invest in such a projects. Real estate in the energy related infrastructure, spending on the bonds to make a significant impact on the future investment banking in India, in the country. Future generation, about the 50% of the world population, people under the age of the 30 are referred in the millennials. Their products makes their normals and has grown with the adopted the ever changing the technological area. They are digital natives with the different mindsets and the priorities as compared to the older generation. They will impact the banking courses in India by involving the mature investors who value the fun oriented but consequently the lifestyles. They will be innovate the more effective and the modern ways to the investing and the conventional methods. Next slide. Service offered by the investment banking in India, mergers and acquisition advisory. The companies need to expand their market shares and generate more revenues. Thus, they need to find the better opportunity to mergers or acquiring the other companies that can help them to reach their objectives. Investment banks to India helps these companies make to the right deals and help them to make a decisions so that the ROI gets a maximum and the risk becomes the least. Management of capital issues. Usually the investment bank in India offer the management of a public issues under two methods, fixed price method and a book building method. They also offer the IPO, initial public offering, and FPO, follow on the public offer, and the preferential issues, right issues, qualified institutional placement, and the debt placement. The idea is it to help the big organization to expand in the long run and the advice them to the various strategies along the way. Debt syndication, when a company looking for the finance new opportunities, they always don't have enough the cash to do for it. However, if they talk to the investment bankers, they are able to help them with the project finance, terms loan, working capital loans, and external commercial borrowings, etc. These services facilitating the public and the private companies in tapping into the right opportunities at the right time and ensure the growth. Buybacks and takeovers. Investment bankers in India advise their clients to buy back their shares at the right time. Moreover, they also help them to find out the targets of the company's facilities in understanding whether the takeovers are necessary. They also help the companies to regulating the as per the SEBI. Over to others.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, I would like to explain the history and growth of investment banking in India. The Dutch East India Company to issue bonds and shares of stocks to general public. It was also the first publicly traded company listed on an official stock exchange. The Dutch also helped lay the foundations of the modern practices of an investment banking. Investment banks act as intermediaries in India traces back to when European merchant banks first established trading houses in the region in the 19th century. Since then, foreign banks, non-Indian, have dominated investment and merchant banking activities in the country. Next slide. Um, a, in the year 1970s, the State Bank of India entered the business by creating a Bureau of Merchant Banking, and ICICI Securities became the first Indian financial institutions to offer merchant banking services. By 1980, the number of merchant banks had risen more than 30. This growth in the financial services industries included rapid expansion of commercial banks and other financial institutions. Followed contents will be explained by Sandesh.
Constraints of investment banking in India, transparency, and the risk management and analytics pushes to bank towards a volume-driven model.
Sandesh,
Yes, sir.
on your camera.
Okay, sir.
Where are you, man? You are there in the class, eh?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So the
Come for presentation. I told no again and again. Next time, if you come without grooming any team, please listen. Any team or doing next class without grooming, I will not allow you to do presentation. You have to cleanly groom yourself. Clean shave, cut your hair, comb properly. You should wear formal dress with a formal shirt and at least a tie. Okay? And girls should groom your hair
Okay.
and wear western formals or the salwar and kameez you have to wear. So you have to be in a formal attire. Always don't do presentation. Okay? I think already I told in the last class also I told. But still people are coming like that. It is not correct. Okay, Sandesh, continue.
Okay, sir. The next point is the downward spiral. So the banks are struggling to comply in time with regulatory deadlines as they are constrained by their own technological limits. And there is a less money to invest in IT solutions. So the next point, cyber securities. Cyber threats are increasing and technology has become a threat. And banks are prone to vulnerability and create issues in M&A solutions. New platforms, investments banks need to constantly innovate to be to in order to provide customer with the best digital access to their products and services across new platforms. So they require too much of financial support for these constraints. So the next slide, please. So internal barriers are like banks are ill-equipped to deal many issues internally. Some of them are divided systems. There are huge number of different IT systems, which makes it very complex and difficult to introduce innovative changes. And also, bank use multiple trading platforms across various class assets, which adds further complexity. So lack of skills, there is a limited expertise in the banks, like skills, markets are demanding for the new skills over the period. So there is limited expertise in the banks, and also it is declining as because new skills are not market are demanding for the new skills. So the market threats, as the market keeps on changing, the banks have to cope up with them. Some of the market threats are fintech disruption. Fintech
What,
disruption is
Sandesh, can you specify what
so,
kind of skills they are lacking or which kind of skills they are required in investment banking sector?
so the investment banking will be if it is involved in trading activities on the stock market. So the markets are frequently changing, sir. So we need that skill, sir. Technical analysis.
It is
Sorry.
not only trading. It is not only
Yes, sir.
trading.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What skills they are lacking?
I'm particularly telling about the trading skills here, sir.
No,
They're
no, but
lacking about that.
banker does not do only trading. They have their main job is different. They have so many things to do.
Yeah, yeah, sir. The IPO, book building, and all those things.
Yeah, so which skills are lacking? See, why I'm telling this because that skills you can focus so that you can make career in investment banking. Tomorrow, if you want to enter investment banking, you can focus on particular skill and then you can get a job in that particular skill. And you know that investment banker is paid very highly paid. Investment
Yes, sir.
banking
Yes, sir.
paid highly than the commercial bank employee. Okay, that's what I'm
Yes,
telling.
sir.
Please do research and find out, and then you put in the WhatsApp group today what
Okay.
they require, which is lacking. So all the students can work on that, and they
Uh,
really want to,
Required skills I have to put in, sir.
yeah, yeah, which
Okay.
skills they are lacking, so that you people can get ready with that.
Okay.
Continue, Sandesh.
Okay. Okay. Over to Jisha.
Now, market threats, who is discussing? Market
Me
threats,
only, sir. Me only, sir.
did you complete?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Coming on to the conclusion, the future of investment banking industries as a whole looks bright. So this point basically means the future investment banking shed non-core assets and also is redesigned their services. So this helps in delivery around and a connection flow with the other investments, and it also optimizes the financial technology. Many more pure mercantile banks and advisory firms could convert themselves into full service investment banks that would broaden the market and make the service delivery much more efficient. So, this is the full-time service is rendered by investment banking nowadays, and they also offer a wide range of service that are included under underwriting, MA, and sales, trading, and also helps in commercial banking and retail bankings. Technology and market development shaping the capital market would also provide an added path to the growth of investment banking. So this basically tells the technology, which is the key to the trading and the strategy into the trading profit. Technology also enables a new profit to the tradings and also enables pricing the models and product to the delivery to the market, and also helps in high frequency trading. Better regulatory supervision and strict enforcement of the code of conduct and market intermediaries would ensure better issuers come to the market, and existing issuer would also follow enhanced standard of corporate governance. This tells that they also have the laws and guidelines that are implied within the organization or within the banks, where it also implies the external and internal, and its function is which prevents from detecting and addressing any deviations, illegal things with taking within the organizations or operations. And also it helps to enhance and stands according to the rules, regulations which is enforced by the corporate governance. This would lead to the growth of capital market in general and investment banking industries also. Yeah, as the investment banking helps in broader functional and financial marketing, and this also helps the economy by marketing sellers and also investors. Therefore, it also adds the liquidity to the market. As liquidity to the market, this action of investment banking also helps the economy growth also. For example, Cortex Securities is an upcoming brand in the area of security business. This tries hard to prove various service and facilitates to their clients. As per recent strategy, they are trying to capture the retailers, investors, in order to increase their goodwill in the market. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody has any, dear students, any doubt, any clarification you require from the team who have done the seminar today? Anybody has any doubt or any clarification? Any questions? Deepak, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Who regulates investment bankers? Design team. Who regulates the investment bankers?
SEBI, sir. Securities Exchange Board of India.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I think there's no any questions. So shall we go to
Stop the screen sharing, sir?
Yeah, you can stop. Next team.
So we will do so. Madhumita and team.
Madhumita and team. What is your topic?
Evolution of Indian banking sector.
Evolution of investment banking sector. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in that, yeah. Who is presenting who is on PPT?
Make me as co-host, sir. Gnaneshwari.
Gnaneshwari. Okay, I'm making you co-host.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I made you co-host, Gnaneshwari. You can start presenting. Share your screen.
Is it visible, sir?
Yeah. Today, I think all team, full team cannot be presenting because time is up. Maybe 2 students can present, remaining people can present next class. Yeah.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Voice is breaking.
Regarding
No.
Is that okay?
No. Please speak now. Your voice is breaking.
Sir, actually our PPT is ready, but I had doubt regarding the topic if we have done correctly. So after this presentation, I will ask you about that, sir.
That you should have before presentation, no, not after presentation. Okay. Then I think Gayatri, you are having a network problem. Others can present today. Gayatri can present next class. Madhumita or Gnaneshwari.
No, sir. Gayatri is not my team member, sir. She's talking about her presentation doubt.
Okay, you ask later. Don't ask now. Yeah, Gayatri, please start. Sorry, Gnaneshwari, start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Our topic is evolution of Indian banking sector. Yes, sorry, sir. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Continue.
Yes. Slide is not me. Just a minute.
What happened?
Yes. Yes, sir. So, banking in India forms the base for economic development of the country. It means the Indian banking sector plays a major role in development of Indian economy, and it also undergoing the major changes with involvement of advanced technology, considering the people needs. And the Indian banking sector divided into three phases. That is phase one, the earlier phase, which is lasted from 1770 to 1969. And the next is phase two, the nationalization phase, which is lasted from 1969 to 1991. And the third phase is liberalization or the banking sector phase, which began in the year 1991 and continuing till date. And coming to the pre-independence phase, which is from 1786 to 1947, in this period, the Bank of Hindustan, this is the first bank to be established in the year 1770, which is located in the then capital Kolkata. And however, this bank has failed to work, and it has ceased its operations in 1832. During this pre-independence period, more than 600 banks has been registered but failed to work. Various banks were established during this period, that is General Bank of India 1786 to 1791, Oath Commercial Bank, that is 1881 to 1958, and Bank of Bengal in the year 1809, Bank of Bombay in 1840, Bank of Madras in 1843. And during this pre-independence period, British rule in India, the East India Company has established three banks, that is Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay, and Bank of Madras, together called as presidential banks. And these three banks are later merged into one single bank in the year 1921, which is called as Imperial Bank of India. This bank was later nationalized in the year 1955 and was named as State Bank of India, which is currently the largest public bank sector. And the failures for these banks during this period is like Indian account holders had become more fraud, lack of machines and technology, human errors and time consuming process, fewer facilities, and lack of proper management skills. And the next phase will be explained by Darshita.
I'll be explaining the post-independence phase. The most important thing happened post-independence was nationalization. That is the transfer of ownership from private to public. So at the time of independence, the entire banking sector was under private ownership, and the rural part of the country had to depend on small money lenders for their requirements. So Government of India nationalized Reserve Bank of India in 1949. In 1955, the Imperial Bank of India was nationalized and named the State Bank of India. And also to regulate the banks, the Banking Regulation Act was enacted in 1949. In order to have control over banking sector, Government of India nationalized. Yes, sir.
Please on your video.
Yes, sir.
Can't see you only.
So can you see me, sir?
Yeah. The rule. Anybody is presenting should on your video, and it should be in the formal dress. Yeah.
Okay, sir. In order to have control over banking sector, Government of India nationalized 14 major banks whose national deposits were more than 50 crores. Based on Narasimham Committee's recommendations, regional rural banks were set up to provide to provide loans to the rural region of the country. Other specialized banks were also set up to promote the activities that were required for the economy. Example, NABARD was established in 1982 to support agricultural related work, and Exim Bank was built in 1982 for export and import, and National Housing Bank was set up in 1988 for housing sector, and SIDBI was established in 1990 for small scale industries. Over to Madhu.
Good afternoon, sir. I am going to speak on the topic
Yes, sir.
We'll do next class because time is up.
Okay, sir.
Two people will do.
Okay,
Next
sir.
class, Madhumudra, you can start, ma. Okay. Okay.
I can start, sir.
No, next class.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So we'll wind up now. Yeah. Any doubts you have now? Gnaneshwari, stop share screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anybody has any doubt, any discussion you want to do? Anything before we wind up? No? So shall we wind up the class? See, still 6 people are not submitted the assignment. And we keep on reminding Melvin James, Sai Pranita, Samuel, Devika, Niveen and Iranda. Please remind them, please submit the assignment. It's already late. And I have to submit one more assignment. I'll create an LMS and I'll give you time to do it in 1 week. Okay? Okay. So anything else, students, before we wind up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
No, nothing, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, son. Thank you for joining. We'll meet again next class. I'm ending the meeting now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.